Oh, adjust the volumes right here. Test, test. Oh, everyone, welcome to Don't Panic. I have like this throat lozenge that Chaselin gave me, and my throat is numb now.
There's a reason why I'm so popular with the boys.
Oh, thank you for watching, everybody. This is season 2 of Don't Panic. I'm Israel Luna, and I have a great panel of guests today that I'm very excited to have on the show. We actually have a first timer.
Yep.
Yeah. So without further ado, I'm going to have all of my guests introduce themselves with who they are and what they do, and then we'll get to talking, starting right here on my left.
God. Hi, my name is Michael, and I do a lot of things. I'm always busy. I'm just very busy. So.
Busy drag queen. Busy drag queen. Yes.
I'm Chaselin Wade, and I'm so busy and bothered.
Yeah.
No, I do all different kinds of stuff. A professional makeup artist, a painter, a performer, hair, makeup, wardrobe.
And
around.
regular guest on Don't Panic.
Regular guests and Don't Panic.
Yeah.
And my name is Nathan Blaze, and I am a local Texas filmmaker.
Yes. And we worked together before as well.
Yeah, we have.
You guys do amazing quality work.
Thank you.
And everybody knows because they're very expensive. They cost lots. But, it's warranted too. They're very good.
I know I saw a couple of clips on Pornhub this morning. Very
I was like,
interesting.
wow, the quality of that.
I know.
HD.
If
It's
it was
in 4K.
If it was 3D, I would have chlamydia in my eye.
I am a Christian. This is a faith-based show. Stop talking like that. But anyway, so guys, let's get just serious for a moment. I'm hoping that once again, after the really terrible school shooting that happened in Florida, that it seems like, it was all over media and social media, and everyone was talking about it. And I feel like I haven't really been hearing a lot about it in the last week, only because there's other things going on. But I don't want it to be a fad once again, to where everyone's talking about it and
The hot potato has cooled.
Exactly. And now it's going to disappear. So, but what I have discovered is now they are considering, and some of this is some of your posts that I've been reading, Nathan, where and I wanted to ask you about them, because you post certain things and I think, yay, wait, is he for this, or is he posting it because he's against it? Yep. Either way, I'm glad he's posting it, because now I know about these details. So what's going on right now is there are certain things that the administration are looking into as a possibility, and one of them is that you cannot purchase a gun unless you're 21 and up.
That's correct.
And so with that said, Nathan, are you I'm sorry. So who of all of us is a gun owner? Okay.
I have really heavy, long dildos to protect me.
I
fine.
I have been raised around guns. I respect
too.
guns.
Me
I
too.
love to go to the shooting range. I'm a very good target, by the way.
Yeah, I'm all about the Second Amendment, just FYI.
yeah.
I just don't personally want to have a gun. So when they're talking about that possibility, Nathan, I'll direct this to you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are that honestly, it doesn't seem like that's going to help at all. And of course, from my point of view, legally, when it comes to the Constitution, that's a violation of people's right, because that's like an age discrimination, which we already have to some extent. But I don't see why we should allow that to further, because people get married and have families at 17, 18, 19, 20. And
Oh, that's a good point. I
Yeah.
never thought of
why
that.
should
They also go to
not
the military.
be able to have a gun in their home? Usually if you're a young adult, you're not living in the nicest neighborhood, so why shouldn't you be able to defend yourself? So that's one issue that I have with it.
Well, a couple of things, and I think you're right, and I've never thought of that. The fact that you can get what's the age where you can get married? Is it 8?
Well, that depends on the state,
16,
really,
yeah.
but you can be 16.
Well, because age of consent in Texas is 17, but what's the age like to actually get married? Is it the age of consent?
I think you can still get married at 16
Honestly,
with
no
your
shit.
parents' approval.
At 16? Oh.
If you're white.
If you're Mexican, it's 12. But okay, so I get that. Now, one thing that you just said, which was, well, you should be able to protect yourself. You can protect yourself. What you're saying is protect yourself with a gun,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Yeah.
do you?
Because the gun is the greatest equalizer of anything. It doesn't matter if you're 4'1" versus a big 6 foot tall dude. It's going to do the power for you.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there a
If it's used properly,
And if you need
if you're
it.
educated on how to use it.
Yeah.
right now? Is there a difference between, like, when you were just talking about the age of marrying to a gun? So, like, if you were to get, what you're saying is you get married, you have this house, and now you have to protect it, but you can't because you're 18 and you're legal to that. Is there a big difference between that and having, being able to be married but not being able to drink? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, what harm is there in that? Let's just say
And allowing the law to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what harm is it going to be if they have to wait till 21 to purchase?
Well, the harm that I would think would happen is that you would have a lot more violent attacks that could be deterred that aren't being deterred. Because according to different statistics done, I think it was by the CDC, roughly 500,000 to over 1 million violent crimes are prevented by gun owners. Like, someone broke into their house and they
But you also have
either had the gun and shot them or just used it as a deterrent. So you'd see that number of casualties or people being victimized go up.
possibly.
So,
But also owning a gun and having a gun in possession of your home increases your risks of that gun injuring someone inadvertently. accidentally.
And I get what you're saying
That
because
percentage goes up 25% just because you have a gun in the house.
yeah, well, see, I was in one of those households. My dad had 2 big rifles on a gun rack in the central bedroom in the house. We knew, we knew, we knew that we weren't supposed to touch it. We knew that they were in cases. We knew we weren't supposed to unzip them and take the gun out. We just knew, and we knew we would get smacked if we did.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't touch it. I would be more open to not changing any of these laws if everyone was a sane person, like all of us at this table.
Right.
And I see what you're saying, but the majority of people are sane, and I mean,
Yeah.
we can't discriminate against people just because of forethought without due process. Like, because if you start saying that, well, because you're 21, you can't own a gun, there's no due process there. You're just saying just because you're this age.
Yeah,
you
but we
can't
do
own a
that with
gun.
everything, though.
I know,
But you're telling
that
me at the
doesn't mean
same
it's
time,
right,
I'm
though.
kind of
I
with
mean,
him because you're old enough to go fight for your country at 18, but you're not old enough to own a gun.
Yeah, now that's a good point.
So how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I would say if someone were to present that to me, I would say, well, there is a difference because you are allowed to have a gun in this secured section where you are getting proper training, where you are practicing with it, where you are being taught with it by professionals, as opposed to being just out in the free world.
I think it's just a Band-Aid, and it's just they're just trying to show that they're doing something.
Right.
And what they're doing is not what anybody has even said that needs to be done.
And not only that, like the majority of crimes aren't even done with long guns; it's done with handguns. So the fact that we have that already for handguns, and already have crimes being used mostly with handguns, doesn't seem like that would even do anything.
Right.
But that's not the conversation
So-
we're having. We're having the conversation on school shootings using rifles and semi-automatic weapons, not just a handgun.
Yeah,
What-
no, but
Yeah,
there's plenty
but
of
the age
shootings
limit
that
is
have
still not
happened
gonna change.
with pistols.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe it's Virginia Tech was with pistols. So I mean, just because it's a rifle doesn't mean that they're not going to use the same pistols. And statistically, there's
Right.
more violent crime with pistols.
Yeah.
What
So
what about
raising the age wouldn't really do much.
what about those
Violent
assault
crime,
rifles?
but not as many mass shootings,
How do you feel
right?
about
Well, I mean,
right?
say that
I'd
again?
have to look and see which mass
Violent
shootings-
crime is with pistols, but not most mass shootings are not done
The mass
with
shootings are
pistols.
usually done with
Yeah.
Well,
like something that fires off really fast, isn't it?
sometimes, I mean, I have to look at every shooting to see exactly what ones were used. But I know Columbine,
Yeah.
they didn't use, semi-automatic rifles. They
What about the
used-
Pulse
they
shooting
used
and the
pist-
Vegas
they used
one?
pistols.
Yeah, those
Vegas
are
is
rifles.
Vegas,
semi-automatic
it
or
was
something?
with rifles, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about guns, but is
Yeah.
a rifle's not a semi-automatic, or is it?
A rifle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got rifles, which are long guns, which you have semi-automatic, you got lever action, you got pump, you got bolt action, and single shot. You
Got
got
it.
tons of different kinds.
And I think the
Semi-automatic are the ones that right now are under
Scrutiny.
scrutiny to be banned.
now, do you think that that's a scrutiny that needs to be there? That they need to look at that?
Yeah.
Personally, no, because if that does happen, you're going to have millions of felons on the street, including myself, because I own a semi-automatic rifle. So
Why?
I will then be
Well,
a felon,
But I don't.
and that's another reason why I wouldn't.
Well,
advocate
I don't
for it.
think they're going to come and break down your door and say, "Give it to me," because they're illegal.
Australia did.
Well, what they did was they did a buyback
Buyback.
program.
Yeah, buyback
But it
program.
was
different.
mandatory, though. It was mandatory,
Right.
or else you'd be a felon.
Well,
Right,
I mean,
that's
are you
true.
willing to give up your gun?
But
to
how
make
many
sure
mass
somebody else
shootings
isn't
do they
killed?
have?
Right.
Well,
And
but that's not the trade-off, though.
That is the trade-off.
You're trading off your freedom, though.
You're not trading off your freedom.
Because
Okay,
yes,
No
you
one's
are.
really
Well, we
free
have to-
anyway.
a tank is a vehicle, right?
That's just a cop out. No one's free.
Do pedestrians? I mean, do civilians need to drive tanks? No, we
Yeah.
drive cars.
Drive things to get to places.
So yeah. It's a
No.
vehicle. It's a vehicle, right?
A tank-
One
a
vehicle
tank-
has a purpose, and the
tank-
other vehicle has a
tank-
different kind of
A
purpose.
tank isn't just a vehicle; it's a weapon.
It's a weapon.
Yeah.
Exactly. So but
So
it's
the purpose of using it doesn't make sense.
is for military purposes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have to cut to break. We're going to continue this conversation because what I would like to know personally is if these changes aren't something that you're wanting to do, what changes would you like to see? Because if you have someone saying, no, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, what will work? So we're going to take a quick break, guys, and we're going to come right back. Don't go anywhere.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here? I'm leaving.
Hey! You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
You hear that? I am Israel Luna. If you are just now joining us, I'm going to have all of my guests reintroduce themselves.
Hi guys, my name is Michael.
I'm Chaselyn.
And I'm Nathan.
Now, right before we went to break, we were talking about, you said that it was taking away like your freedom in a way, like if they were to pass this law about the assault rifles, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you had mentioned something about, well, you can't own a tank to drive to the store.
Yeah, I guess my equation there, my comparison was, one is for military purposes and the other one is not. You know, I don't see the need. When I was growing up, my family had rifles and shotguns and pistols and things like that, but we didn't have the kind that went.
Right.
That's not deer. That's not for deer hunting.
Right.
And I understand, but what they're proposing is not for just semi-automatic rifles or semi-automatic centerfire rifles. They're talking about semi-automatic shotguns, pistols.
I haven't seen
rifles.
what they've proposed.
So they're talking about basically everything.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And we're not talking about for the purpose of deer hunting. We're talking about for the Second Amendment, which I'm sure you guys know what that is.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but do you agree? Please tell me you agree that when the Second Amendment was written, they had no idea that there was going to be guns that could shoot. I mean, that was back in the day. You had to put that down in there, do like this, and then you had to do like this and spit on it. And
well, I think,
I
think you're right.
That was very common, the musket, but there was also guns like the Polko gun.
I mean, there wasn't even the Gatling gun.
Gatling gun.
in
Gatling guns,
1776.
but there was the puckle gun. There was the. Hold on, let me see.
But regardless, it
lots
was
of
not
facts
to the technological
that I have written
advancements
down
that they
'cause
have today.
I can't keep in mind of all. So the puckle gun, the bolt and flintlock, and the Grenadier rifle. All of these were weapons that weren't muzzle loaders. They were repeating rifles. And actually, the Army tried to adopt I believe it was the bolt and flintlock, but it was too expensive.
Do you know how many bullets it did in a minute?
The rate of fire? I don't know. But it was repeating. There's a repeating firearms though that they had back then.
So then let me ask you this. I have my own thoughts of how to lessen these terrible things happening. And I even had a show about it once, and the other three people I was talking to, they would say, well, that won't work because of this. And what I didn't hear one time was, but what I do feel like we should do is this. Yeah. The people that are pro-gun don't have any thoughts or ideas on how to change things to make them better.
I do.
I got tons of ideas.
Yeah, so I would love to hear. And then, go ahead.
Okay.
Definitely.
One of them that I think is really important because I know a lot of people.
Bring your mic.
Sorry. A
There you
lot,
go.
a lot of people that are on the other side, the anti-gun side, they want people that own guns to not be incompetent and to know how to handle firearms.
That's not going to happen.
Which is common sense,
And that used to be how the country was before 1990. You had shooting class at school, a gun handling class, and everyone knew how to handle a firearm safely. And so why not implement that back in school so that you don't have people that don't know how to fire?
Because these kids today are eating Tide Pods?
Tide
Pods.
Pods.
It's like
You're talking about Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Another one of my things that I think we need parents to parent their kids more, not be so just throwing the iPod or iPad in front of them or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's half and half.
Because like I've talked to a couple of teachers or friends of mine, and they can't do any sort of discipline in school anymore because whenever they do, or they try to talk to the parent about it, they either get yelled at or reprimanded at school or something, and they're the ones that get disciplined instead of the students. So I think that needs to be something else that needs to be changed with parents specifically.
Anything specific to any type of, quote, gun control?
Gun control, no, and the only reason why I say it is because it's really clear in the Constitution if you read that there shouldn't be any infringements.
There's a lot of things clear in the Constitution that we don't go by because they're ridiculous.
Like
if you want to
what?
be real.
Like what?
Freedom of speech, do you have that?
Yeah,
You think you have that?
we do have freedom of speech.
We do? So you can say whatever you want on Facebook and not get reprimanded
Well, we
for
can't.
it?
You're right. We can't say that we're going to
Okay,
kill
but
the president.
Okay, but those are things that
That's
are
free speech,
calling for
right?
action, though. Those aren't just free speech. You're calling to action of something. If I said
It's the same
if I
thing.
said-
It's
no,
you're talking.
no,
speech.
Because you're insinuating action. That's different. That's different than just having an opinion or saying something that's.
So then put in
speech.
I think in the front of it.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you say like for a fire, if you can't, people would say like you can't yell, the fire like in a crowded theater or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Because what you're insinuating is an action, and you're not just saying fire. You're saying there's a fire, get out,
But
and that's totally different.
There's
'cause-
no things that say you can and cannot say on the Constitution. It just says free speech.
Well, there are certain ways that they've found loopholes to keep us from having real freedom. I mean, because we do have total censorship here as well, which we're not supposed to as Americans, and it's called the MPAA. And you as a filmmaker, that's their way of legally having censorship by not allowing you to have certain expressions that you want to say in a film. But they won't say you can't do that. They'll say we're going to give you an X rating, and we already made a deal with these theaters saying that they're not going to show any films that are not rated through us.
Yeah,
So
and
there's
that's 100% true. And
Yeah.
but a lot of the stuff when it comes to free speech, not being fully to the extent like you're saying, is because of like a lot of privatized things like YouTube, like. Just recently, YouTube, like they've shut down lots of conservative YouTube channels and stuff, which is fine. Then they can do that. People can cry free speech all they want, but it's their private company.
We have to know. See, this
It's in
is
the Constitution, though.
this is where I would pop in there.
But it's a private property.
Why were they deleted though?
Why were they deleted?
Yes.
it's like I said, like
Somebody didn't like
I
what they had
think
to
I think
say.
I mentioned to you,
But see, that's I would have to dig in deeper because, for example, if somebody was offended by the show, YouTube could not say, you know what, we don't like what Israel's doing, we're going to cancel this show because
I
no,
agree.
yeah, because I would question and say, why? What did I say? If I was sharing people's phone numbers, home addresses because I was pissed off at them, then they can cancel it. And then I'm going to go to social media and say, they canceled it because they don't like what I'm saying because I'm a liberal and I feel this. That's a lie. So my question to you is, and it's not that they're not being canceled, these conservative blogs or vlogs. What I'm saying is, why are they? Because I'm willing to hear that argument, but it's not a blanket statement of, oh, because they don't like what they're saying. I don't believe that part.
Well, I mean, you just have to look at it yourself and
Right.
see. Like as far as I know from what I've looked at, it has nothing to do with them doing anything that is infringing on their guidelines. It's kind of vague and arbitrary.
Well, because I know the who was it that had her Twitter taken off? Rose McGowan, was it?
Yeah.
Rose McGowan did, and
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this was like a couple of months ago, but she came out saying people were saying, yeah, Twitter, they didn't like what she was saying, and this whole new movement, and it's like, no, it's because she was putting people's phone numbers on there.
Right.
Right. I was kind of on her side, but I agree that they should take away her account because she's abusing it.
Well, I mean, if I may, what would be the problem with having a stricter guidelines of getting a gun? You still want the semi-automatic? You still want to shoot 60 rounds in a minute to go deer hunting? Sure, go ahead, use it all you want.
Yeah.
But I think what my problem with people that want to backlash against it, not having one don't take my gun, is why not have mental, evaluations? Why not have a 30-day waiting period? Why not,
I thought there was already
why
one.
not have biometrics involved to be able to technology can change so you can have biometrics where only you can shoot your gun, nobody else can. There's all different types, but people don't want to be inconvenienced. Well, wait till your child is dead, and then maybe you'll want to be inconvenienced. Mm-hmm. Maybe then you'll say, well, maybe I don't need a gun that shoots 60 fucking rounds in 1 minute. Maybe, possibly.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and the main reason, like for instance, for the biometrics and different kind of things like that, is because when it comes to that point, like are you talking about like where you
my car is my car and it is
is
insured for me and no one else is supposed to drive my car. They can get in it, but if that car wrecks, it's not paid for. That's for a car. Do you know how long? We all know what it takes to get a driver's license, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have it's for a year. You have to have your.
That was one of my arguments, saying why don't we have that for guns?
Why can't we do that for guns? I mean, you can get whatever gun you want, but you have to verify and qualify for that gun.
Yeah, and so going back to your different gun control things or waiting periods, biometrics, and that stuff. So the whole biometrics things you're talking about, like if you want to buy a gun, you have to give them your fingerprint or their
I'm talking about there's technology where they're actually you pick up the gun and if it's my gun, my fingerprints work that gun. You lay it down. You can't pick that gun and use it up.
And I'll tell you one of the main reasons, like just me personally, and probably a lot of people that own guns wouldn't want that is because the more safeties and mechanical systems you have in place to keep a firearm from acting is extremely getting to that line of things that are going to make it not work when you need it. Like most people who carry guns, they carry one in the chamber, and usually, like for instance, the most popular firearm right now is the Glock pistol.
I love the Glock.
It has no safeties on it except for the little thingy in the trigger.
Okay,
how do you feel? Well, hold on.
That's honestly
what's
the main
problem
reason.
Let's exclude the technological advances of biometrics. Okay, let's just get to the point of you have to wait 90 days for a gun. You have to pass the psychological evaluation.
Well, let me answer that.
You have to pass a visual.
Let me answer that by a quick clip from The Simpsons. Homer goes in there to buy a gun, and the guy says, "All right, thank you very much. Now there's a 3-day waiting period, and then come back and we'll give it to you." And he says, "But why? I'm angry now."
Right. And so with the whole mental health checks, evaluation stuff, well,
and vision,
there's a couple reasons.
and sound.
A couple reasons because, one, I don't believe that we should limit or take away people's rights just because they're either disabled or
I didn't say disabled.
So if they're
psychologically disabled.
Mentally disabled people.
So you
Like
want a
people-
mentally disabled person to have a gun that can shoot off 60 rounds in 1 minute, and you
No,
don't have a problem with that?
I'm saying we have to define what we're talking about.
Okay,
So if we're
we
talking
don't let
about-
blind people drive cars
Yeah, but blind people.
Why?
Blind people can shoot guns.
because it's
though.
not safe.
But blind
Can
peop-
they? Do they know what they're shooting at?
Are you guys blind though? You guys don't know how they operate. They can operate things that we don't know how. to
So
operate 'cause
someone
they're
who has a
blind.
But they cannot see.
psychological disorder
There's plenty of firearms
that cannot
owners
pass a psychological
who
test
are
to be
blind.
entered into the military should still be able to go buy a gun.
What I'm saying is,
You know they do psychological tests for military,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Are you
I know.
military?
no.
Okay.
Well, we have to cut to break again. I didn't think we were going to be past one segment because I have like tons of other topics, so I'm gonna have to just move on anyway. But we have to first cut to break, and we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here? I'm leaving.
Hey! You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
And standards that you have.
You're asking for
you're gonna
failure.
be
Yeah.
Very disappointed.
So before we move on to the next subject, we're back. Hi guys. I don't think we let you say outside of the what was I saying? When the reasons
The solution.
the solutions, the reasons why you think that, to make it less.
Okay. Well, the first one that I mentioned was allowing kids to have classes in school again, where they learn how to handle firearms and all that kind of stuff, firearm safety. Because before the 90s, that's what they had, and you had much less firearm school shootings before the 90s. I don't know if you'll know, but in 1990s when they passed the School Gun-Free Zone Act under President Bush, before
Yeah, that's
89,
working so well.
before 89, there was only up to 39 school shootings in a decade. Before then, there hadn't been any more than that. And then the very next decade, from 90 to 99, we had 63 school shootings. That increased was 39% from the previous decade, which we haven't had that many before. And then after that, we got now up to the 2000s, we had 143 school shootings in our decade, and it's not even over yet. And it's 73% increase since when it was enacted. So I don't understand why we have these.
Well, the
Right,
issue,
but-
Besides that, what else?
Well, hold on.
What
yeah,
else?
no,
Other
but
than in schools, what else?
no,
What else?
that's
I want to hear more.
those are great statistics, but you haven't said what
Yeah.
you feel to change it.
But also-
Autism has gone up in the last decade too. That has
Hold on, guys, let him-
save lives.
So
Let
what
him-
I think we should do is I think we should get rid of gun-free zones so that we can have
Okay.
more
guns.
police
Go ahead.
and or retired military.
who's going to hire the police? Because people
No,
don't
no,
want to
I
work for
want
the
to hear his
police.
points. I'm just going to shut up.
There's plenty of organizations out there like Oath Keepers and different organizations that retired military and police that I'm sure we could would dedicate their time to finding a solution for that, and then letting people who have licenses to carry, whether they're teachers or faculty or whoever, should be allowed to carry. One of the guys that was one the coaches on the Parkland shooting had a license to carry a firearm. He didn't have it. He shielded the children, and he died.
Okay.
If he had had his firearm and was legally allowed to, then he
That's
could have
alleged.
stopped it.
Okay, go.
I'm not saying he did or he it would have happened, but you actually at least would have a chance. So I mean, I think we should let people who are qualified to have firearms get rid of the
I
gun-free
think
zones
that's
to
the
let
problem
them.
I have. That I keep arguing with you is that
There are
Who
no
decides
set
that-
qualifications.
that's it.
Period.
The set qualifications. I don't care what gun you carry,
Well, right-
but you have to be able to. You have to be able to meet certain
Well,
standards.
right now,
to be
you
able
have to
carry that gun.
take a state qualification
Right.
to get the license.
Right.
Online.
Well,
You can do it
sh-
online.
Should
No,
be
you have
changed.
to go
It
to
should
the
be a
field.
little bit more strict, I think.
From what I understand,
But have
you can
taken
go.
the class?
Huh?
Have you taken the class?
What?
Have
a
you,
gun
have you
class?
taken the license to carry class?
No.
So how do you know it needs to be more strict?
So
The laws in general need to be more strict.
Okay.
So my thing is,
To allow
yes,
you to
I
carry
think
a weapon
one
of
way
death.
would be to have a set qualification,
Yeah.
in place. Like, hey, ABC, you have to meet all this. Okay, Q. But
It works in Japan.
and that would only be
Japan has also
for
had multiple mass killings with like machetes and knives. So I mean,
because they're men over
it-
there.
It doesn't.
They don't hide behind an
It
automatic.
really doesn't matter. I mean, if it's.
I
a
bet they
gun-
didn't kill 500 people from a hotel
Well,
room.
we have to move on to the next subject, but I will just go ahead and say this. I feel personally, if we're all in this room and there's 100 of us, and there are guns all over
In
the
this
walls,
room, we Mexico.
and there are guns all over the walls, it's going to be more likely that if somebody gets angry, they're going to take one of those guns and shoot. If we were all in here, somebody might get hurt because they get punched, or someone's going to take this camera and throw it at somebody, but there aren't going to be as much killings as if there were full guns in here. And if somebody says, no, it's not the guns, we just need to bring more guns in here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at it from that perspective.
I get what you're saying. I would just argue that if there were no guns in this room, someone would still find a way to bring a gun into this room if they wanted to kill people.
Correct. And then what you do from there is try to figure out what happened and then fix that solution. Fix that when it happens. That's what I would say. But right now, there's guns everywhere. We see hidden cameras where people easily go in anywhere pretty much because it's all about money, honestly. No one wants people to be killed. The NRA doesn't want people to be killed. The NRA is
Allegedly.
making tons of money.
Allegedly.
Well, they're making money. And
Because
that's
they're
what
buying
it all
politicians.
comes down to. Yeah, absolutely.
That's how they make their money.
But I think it has nothing to do with Second Amendment. It has nothing to do with anything else. There are reasons why people are running certain places to say, let's keep the guns, because the main people doing that are the ones that are making money off of it, and they're convincing other people, yes, this is what you should rile against, and they use scare tactics like, we're going to take your guns, is what I personally feel. But, and I want to say this specifically, especially to Chaselin, is what I've discovered, especially from doing my last show, is I just listen to them because if somebody's made up their mind of what they think, and I've made up my mind, all we're going to do is clash. I really want to know because I don't think Nathan's a bad person. I didn't think my other guests were a bad person, but I want to get into the mentality of why do you think this?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, because then you can actually have a conversation and question
I just think
and
it's
challenge
fascinating.
those
I mean,
things.
things were a certain way for a long time, and they've changed throughout history for multiple reasons. And I don't have a problem with anybody owning guns. I've thought about purchasing a gun myself.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
It's just like the last little point. If you really want to understand from a gunner's perspective of why it's so important to him, it's because if you read the Second Amendment, it says the right of the people to bear arms, and it says because this is necessary in order to have a free state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it says it's necessary to have a free state. That's the main issue here.
And I get that.
I don't have a problem with people owning guns.
And
I have a problem with this.
But the crazies having the guns.
Well, I have a problem with the means in which you are obtaining that gun. There shouldn't be anybody shouldn't argue with. Well, we should have a mental evaluation.
Yeah, it should be difficult to get a gun.
Evaluation.
And I got you.
We have a visual. We should have.
We could do all of those things if you got an amendment passed to amend the Second Amendment.
So if you buy out the NRA, you can do whatever you want with the gun.
But
laws.
going on the Second Amendment, it says you have the right to own guns, right? So what if you can only
technically it says arms. It
arms.
doesn't say guns.
Oh, well, we already have arms. So screw guns, everybody. We just solved that. What if you can only own 3?
I would say under the law right now that would be an illegal law because it says there's no infringement.
But what about under that amendment?
Under amending it, saying you can only have 3?
No. Just that would still go under that, right? Because you still own arms.
You could still
own more than one.
You could still own 3.
Well, there's the thing.
No,
what if
cap.
only
Well,
3?
You're capping it at 3.
Militia. You can't have a militia. You can't have.
If you get an amendment to only have 3, but then take out the infringement part, then.
But before we even tried to change any of those amendments, what would you say to somebody saying, what if the only change we make is that you can only own up to 3 guns and that's it per person?
I mean, I would just say, just going back to the text of the Second Amendment, it says that it's an infringement.
So you would say
well, I know
no.
lots of people that can get guns and they don't fucking deserve them.
Right. So you would say no to that?
They're crazy as shit.
Well, the thing though is like people ask why do you need a gun? Why do you need a gun? It's not we need guns.
Well, I think that's a
it's
dumb question. It's none of their business why you need a gun.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, get gun. Not only a gun, but guns, but only 3. How's that?
I don't care if you own 300.
Well, hold on. I haven't got an answer
I would
yet.
just say that you can't say that.
No. To you personally, not the
personally?
world. To you personally. Hey, how about you only own 3?
I would still say no. That's you can't do that.
Why?
Because it's illegal.
To only
Is it?
own 3?
Yeah, because it's an infringement of my
No.
right.
Is it because it's
says
an infringement
plural.
or because you just want to say, I can own as many guns as I want to and that's it?
It's not because I want to say I can own as many as I want to. It's just that it's just an infringement. Like there's no law that says I can only own 3 guns.
But there isn't one that says, what does it say right now? You can own, does
It
it?
says it shall not be infringed. The ability to keep and bear arms.
Bear arms meaning more than one. So
Bear arms as
more than one.
In the context of the Constitution, it's in equal arms as the military, because the whole reason they made that amendment was to have militias that could oppose a standing army, because they're very much afraid at the
Well, there's
time
no
of a
way.
standing army.
At the time.
Well, I will say this.
There's
at
no
the
way
time.
we
If there was anything going on,
we could not defend
400
the
years
US
ago.
Army ourselves.
But-
we could not do that. It is
But you could-
impossible.
you could
if
if you own
our
more than
U.S.
3 guns.
military decided to take over this country, we would not have an option. You, your guns, all your friends, and all their guns. You would not have a choice. Sorry.
I mean, that's your opinion. I have different opinions.
Well, it's not. It's a statistical fact. If our military wanted to take over this country, they could.
Our military,
Do you have
our
Black Hawk choppers?
our
do you have?
military-
I mean,
our
it's impossible.
I know plenty of people that have Humvees and tanks and stuff that are ex-veterans, and they have them because that's what they have. It's just the way.
so in conclusion, you're saying that not doing anything with guns taking anything away or getting more or anything actually getting more is your solution to the gun violence.
I mean, I don't think you have to get more. If everyone just had one gun and we allowed qualified teachers and staff to carry, allowed police officers or veterans. If we had a thing in the school systems where that they were required to have students to have a bulletproof plate of armor.
Actually, I have a really good idea on that.
That's a non-gun issue. The kids at the Parkland shooting, they didn't have them except for the ROTC kids. They had these Kevlar mats that they put on everybody. So why don't we just have either parents on their own, or the school system?
Why is it that we can
get a textbook and pencils and paper?
Because guns is not our world.
We can protect our courthouses.
Like my world.
We can protect our courthouses. We can protect our capitals. We can protect senators. We can protect. We have all these. We can protect so many things. Why can't we do it for the schools? I have an idea about that. Why not build the schools in a square with a heavy wall, no windows, and an open courtyard system where you have one door in and one door out, and it has a metal detector, and you don't have to worry about it.
I had fun in prison, so
you know what I'm saying?
One thing you could do is make schools with not so accessible, because
a courtyard school, exactly.
Majority of schools are extremely accessible, and you can access them.
But my concern is that you said that the teachers can't even discipline the kids, so. If they can't even control their kids, what is the gun going to do?
And what happens when the teacher goes postal and starts shooting people themselves?
I'm not saying that they can't, like physically. I'm saying that they can't because they're either have consequences or hindered by either the parent or the school system.
So this is going to be this can go on for days, I'm sure. So we're going to move on. We're going to take a break.
World peace.
And we are going to start on other subjects.
Thank fucking God.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here? I'm leaving.
Hey! You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Don't Panic. So,
Poor child.
there is,
You were a fetus.
for those of you who don't know, there is on RuPaul's Drag Race, which is, I guess, like she's like the top when it comes to like popular drag queens, worldwide.
Yeah.
Is RuPaul had a hit song called Supermodel in the mid 90s,
Yeah.
I would say.
It was like early 50s.
Yeah, and RuPaul's been in various films and has really brought drag culture to the mainstream.
Right.
And she is currently on season what?
10.
It's on season 10.
On season 10, and there was a controversy that happened that I sort of saw on Facebook, but I don't know all of the details. I kind of know. Chaselyn, I know you were one of the more outspoken people on Facebook that were talking about it, so tell me what happened.
Well, to be honest with you, I only made a couple of things on Facebook about it, but it was because I saw on my feed, RuPaul said this and RuPaul said that and trans girls can't be here. And basically, RuPaul was saying that he would probably not let someone who was trans on the show. He has had people on the show that have transitioned after the show or that were actually transitioning and stopped their transition because they got asked to be on the show and then finished their transition after the show so that, they could still be on.
How can you stop a transition
You
or
stop-
put it on
you
pause?
stop.
You stop taking hormones.
Stop
you're-
taking hormones.
Okay.
Don't get your boobs until after you leave.
Yeah.
So
And-
people got upset because why?
Well, because he's saying that he probably would not allow a transgender performer to come onto the show. And the problem with that is I was a performer many years before I ever transitioned. So just because I got a pair of knockers, does that mean that I can't do the same performances that I did prior? And most of the girls now, or a lot of girls, are what they call titty bibs. You're getting such an education right now.
Tit bibs, yeah.
Tit bibs, where they look like tits and but they peel them off and
You're
take
saying
them
what's
off
the
and-
difference?
Yeah, why? What's the difference?
Okay, so let me ask this before we get into that conversation. So Nathan, do you know the difference between a drag queen and a transgender female?
Is a drag queen just someone that dresses up and isn't necessarily had any sort of procedure?
Yeah.
Right, and transgender, they're born one sex, but they live as the other because they identify inside
Right.
as that their outsides don't match.
And
And so
here's the thing.
basically, this person saying that you can't be on his show.
On his drag show,
if you're transgender.
if you're transgender. So this is
And a lot of the drag queens on there have had a lot more work than I've had done.
yeah. So yeah, I know what you're saying. What my initial reaction was when I heard this was, well, maybe because how fair would it be if there was just a male who was in drag compared to
yeah.
a woman who's been on hormones for
Right.
5 years?
But that does not listen. I have transgender friends that do not perform ever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and I just was in a pageant this past week with 3 other men. I was the only transgender person in the pageant, and I came in 3rd.
Right.
So I didn't have an advantage over them because of that.
Right. But what I'm saying is, let's just say this happened. There was a transgender female who performed on the show on RuPaul's Drag Race, and all the other men were just drag queens.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And that transgender person won.
Right.
Would it cause a controversy because they would say, well, it's not fair?
Well, what's not fair about it?
Well, yeah.
Because
it would.
what
Because
it-
they're prettier?
well, let me answer.
that's
let me
subjective.
answer.
That's a matter of opinion because I know some ugly trans bitches, trust me.
Because I would think, as an outside perspective, and still being a part of the rainbow community, I would think to myself, if I was running a competition, I would think, would that be fair? Only because, from what I understand about taking hormones, and this is not everybody,
Right.
but your skin softens, you become more feminine,
That's not
is
performance.
that fair?
That's not performance.
Right, and is that fair for the person who has to put on all of this padding?
I had to
and
put
all
on
of
padding
this?
for my evening gown too.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying.
The only thing that I didn't
hold-
have to
hold
pad
on
were my
a-
titties.
All I'm saying is, do you think that might be the reason why she said that? Like,
No.
is that her reasons, or what was RuPaul's reasons for saying
I
that?
don't know what his reasons were, but they were fucked up.
Well, when season 9 aired, and they were doing the promo shots for everything, Peppermint had since transitioned after the show, and I remember telling my friends, and we're pretty close, and we all have our open ideas and opinions about everything, and we have an open dialogue with each other, so we will try to understand the other party, and if we can't, we'll just work on it. So I did not appreciate, and this was before the show had even aired. They were just doing the Meet the
promos,
Queens, all the promos and stuff. And so I saw Peppermint, she had a pair of breasts, and she seemed a little more skin soft. Like everything was visual. It was a little more real than she had.
Have
like,
you
her
seen
little
Courtney
breasts.
act?
I have. I'm not done.
Okay.
And so I told my friend, I said, I hope she doesn't win, because I don't think, to me personally, that's not drag in my eyes. Drag is a guy in a dress.
So what is drag?
It's just a guy in a dress.
Well, you're wrong.
Well, it's an opinion. It's an opinion, and I'm not right. I'm not wrong. It's just an opinion.
Well,
Everybody has their opinion.
I'd like to get Nathan's take on if you were to see a show where it's a drag show, a drag contest, and then there's a transgender female entering. Would you allow that?
I think my biggest question would just be like why would there be a transgender person wanting to be in a drag?
Right.
If they're two different things, why would you want it?
Well, I can answer that.
In a different
I can answer that because
performance.
just like my hobbies.
We have less than 2 minutes, so if
like
you want to
my
do it
hobbies
fast.
in my life have always remained the same, even after my transition, and I enjoy performing, dancing, costumes, wigs, makeup, 3 pairs of eyelashes, hip pads. I still enjoy doing that. Just because I want to see my daily life live out separately doesn't mean that I should give up anything. When I transitioned, I decided I shouldn't have to give up anything. I should just be able to add more to my life, not take away from it.
Well, I have a great idea. If there isn't a specific competition for transgender females on like a RuPaul's Drag Race type of show, create one.
Well,
my
thing is,
would produce
I can
something like
compete
that
against anybody else that wants to do drag, and just because I'm transgender doesn't mean that I'm going to win. I didn't win this past week.
Right. But then let's just say, for example, I did a competition where it was only it's only for transgender women specifically, and then a drag queen wants to join in, and I said no, then they're going to cause a big ruckus. And I'll be honest, I would say, go make your own competition then if you don't like it.
Right.
And I thought that the biggest reason was that RuPaul said something about that's not drag or this isn't drag, and that's when I was like, wait a minute.
That's so like when Michael was saying, well, that's not fair because it's not drag, or why would the transgender person want to enter that? Well, I still enjoy the same things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what the misunderstanding or confusion of that is. I mean.
But at the end of the day, it's his show, and he's the one getting the ratings, and he's the one getting the Emmys. So apparently,
He can do whatever
he
he wants to.
could be doing something right, whatever. But like Israel said, if you don't like it, go get your own fucking show.
Well, I sort of associate it to someone taking steroids to win a lifting competition.
Right.
That's the closest thing that I can think of to compare.
But it's all illusion.
That's true.
Drag is an illusion. I do not look like this when I'm in drag. You saw me the other night. I look
Yes,
like
you
I
do.
had some war paint on. I mean,
and backstage you did.
Yeah, backstage. You know, it's all the same thing. I mean, you're talking about men, drag queens that go get facial feminization like Chad Michaels that lives as a man but looks just like Cher.
And see, that's a good argument.
How is that not fair?
That's a good argument.
Is he not allowed to enter a Cher impersonator contest because he's had facial work done?
Right. Yeah, because it wouldn't be fair to not allow... You're right. Absolutely. Because it would not be fair to allow a transgender female who has little to no hormones and they're just naturally feminine to a male who's had tons of cosmetic surgery done.
I see tons of boy queens that look.
But they do
just
that with
like
one of the Miss Gay
women.
Use of A pageants. You can't have any real breast or real this or real that.
Right. Yes.
You can only do.
But
you can
have
get
face work from the neck up.
You can't have anything from the neck down. To my understanding,
Yes,
I could be
this
wrong.
is true.
You know what?
But
I'm thinking
That's
that I'm
true.
going to do an entire show about this because I love how all of the sexes are blending.
Whereas, for instance, Continental is known for
That-
trans girls that compete.
Yeah.
But Heights. What's her name? Brooklyn Heights is a 6'2" muscle
he is
hot
sexy.
guy that beat out all these other trans girls in a pageant that's known for it. So
Well,
I mean,
we have to go.
don't get bitter, get better.
Yeah, I think
Man,
I'm
where's my
going to
gun?
do a show all about this because I think it's really fascinating. The scale of female, male, and everything in between, because there's lots in between. Guys, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we're going to close out the show. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, so Chad Michaels is.
Ouija board. Are there any spirits here?
I'm leaving.
Hey! You can't remove your hand now, or we'll die. I'm serious.
Men, we invite the Ouija spirit to come over. You don't move your hand. Continue playing, because this is real business. Ouija board. If you're really here, please move to Kung's side.
Anymore because you're trans.
And I'm actually going to be with Patty to Play Safe on April the 7th with No Tie Dinner. If you're not familiar with what that is, please look it up. It's called No Tie, www.notiedinner.org. Get your tickets. I just competed with the Dallas Red Foundation. Hi, Red people.
Yeah.
We raised about $13,000. I raised $2,316 by myself.
Nice.
See what a trans
But
girl
she's
can
not
do
counting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the boobs.
But yeah, exactly. And then catch me this Sunday. There's a few tickets left at Don't Tell Supper Club. It's drag brunch. Starts at 11 o'clock with me, Lana O'Hara, Crystal Summers, and Jenny P.
Nice.
My name's Nathan Blaze, and I'm gonna be shooting a movie with my brother John in a couple weeks, called The Penitent Thief, and I'll probably come out. I don't know. We don't have a release date, but it'll probably come out I think next year or something like that. It's gonna be a pretty cool movie. So
if somebody would like to hire you, how can they find you?
Shooting a film.
They can email me at nathanblazekm@able.com. And yeah,
we need to get you a
shooting
t-shirt.
A film.
That's a play on words with shooting.
I'm shooting a film.
Don't worry, guys. There's no regulations. He's fine.
And guys, I am Israel Luna. You can catch my show every Friday at 3 o'clock. And if you were watching the commercials in between, Ouija 4 is the latest film that has come out of my collaboration with ITN Films. My company is La Luna Entertainment. That is the fourth film, Ouija 4, out of my Ouija Experiment franchise. So I think it's about to come out, but you can go to itnfilms.net to check it out. And I want to thank all of my guests for being on my show. Thank you very much for expressing your opinions. That's what this show is about, is just hearing everyone's opinion. And no matter what happens, no matter how many guns are being bought, or no matter what laws are trying to be taken away from you, what should you do?
Don't go to school
panic.
because you'll
Don't
die.
panic.
Don't panic. Have a good weekend, guys. See you later.